The lesson is on today's first reading from Joel. This is mostly a repeat of yesterday, but about 17 words. The book of the prophet Joel is made up of two speeches. We read from one of them yesterday and from the other today. In those two speeches, Joel uses an agricultural crisis to measure his audience's knowledge of its God, to warn them of a worse disaster if they ignore his preaching, and express his conviction that all faithful Judaites would someday enjoy a secure future. Although the title does not place Joel's preaching or the book's composition in a specific historical context, internal evidence favors a post-exilic date for its composition, probably 450 to 400 BC. This evidence includes Joel's reliance on an established, possibly written, prophetic tradition, the existence of an organized temple liturgy, the dominance of priests, and the absence of a king, and vocabulary characteristic of later material like Chronicles and Zechariah. The first speech, which we had in yesterday's first reading, has Joel preaching about the inadequate winter rains and the spring locust infestation, which have devastated Judah's grain fields, vineyards, and orchards. Because the people carry on with business as usual, unaware that this crisis is the work of the Lord in their midst, Joel fears that the Lord may soon deliver a death blow by withholding the rains that normally fall in the late autumn. However, Joel's efforts to avert this crisis are successful. The first speech ends with Joel's assurance that at the end of the next agricultural year, the people will enjoy a superabundant harvest. Joel's second speech begins with a summary description in chapter 3 of the prophet's hope that Judah's God would one day destroy its enemies and make Jerusalem secure once and for all. This divine intervention will create a more inclusive community, cutting across boundaries of gender, class, and age. In today's first reading is the rest of Joel's second speech in chapter 4, which uses the imagery of drought, locusts from the first speech, and introduces the metaphor of a grape harvest and winemaking to describe the attack of the Lord's heavenly army on all of Judah's enemies. In the renewal of Judah's hillsides by the winter rains, the prophet sees the revitalization of the people because the Lord dwells with them. This is quite a bright and hopeful imagery that I hope we can draw on today, as we have such a dark time for our countries right now. May the peace of the Lord be with each of you always.